In our previous sessions, I had mentioned that the importance of the Word of God in the founding of our main colleges, seminaries, schools in America. The part that the Word of God played and how these were actually designed and set up to be schools of learning in the matters of religion and with the Bible in mind. I'm reading from a book called Christianity Through the Centuries by Earl E. Cairns. After homes had been built, churches erected, civil governments set up, and means of livelihood secured, education was one of the earliest concerns of the colonists, according to the pamphlet New England's First Fruits. This interest was in the tradition of the Reformation because Calvin and Luther had emphasized the need of education so that the individual could read his Bible, and so that leaders for the church and state could be trained. The Bible, and this is very important, the Bible had first place in their curricula. Try to reconcile that with what's going on today in our public institutions, our schools.
Yeah.
The Bible had the very first place, foremost, and that of the educational institutions of early America. And classical training took second place as an aid to the full knowledge of the Bible. Vocational education in the colonies was assured by the continuance of the apprenticeship system of England. By this system, one was apprenticed to a master in a particular trade until one learned that trade. Elementary education was by law the concern of the government in the northern colonies, but in the southern, the same end was secured in wealthy families by the hiring of a private tutor. Secondary schools, known as Latin or grammar schools, were set up to prepare the student for university by giving him a grounding in the classical languages. Colleges were to provide civic and religious leaders.
What time period was this, Richard?
This is in the 16 and 1700s.
So this is more or less the early part of our country.
The very early
before
part.
We actually became a country.
And most of these colleges were actually founded even before the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, I'm going to be reading tonight from one of Pat Robertson's books, America's Dates with Destiny. And he has some very interesting information, I think, here on some of the early schools. First of all, he talks about Harvard. Now, we've mentioned Harvard before. Harvard, of course, is, probably the foremost school in America today. Anyone that knows anything about education will have to, admit that Harvard University is the school that so many students aspire to get into. It's a school that has a tremendous name. It can get people to their destination wherever they want to go in life, in their career. It's just a tremendous school.
So, are you telling me that Harvard originally started out as a Bible university?
Yes, that's right. John Harvard, who Harvard University was named after, gave about 400 pounds to the university, and gave his library of about 800 volumes to the library, to the school, to actually start Harvard University.
So the pound was the English dollar back then.
Yeah, they said, it says, in one of my books.
Because King George's.
Yes.
Was it King George? He was.
No, it was.
At the time?
Could have been, yeah, because this would have been before.
I think King George was around Washington's time, wasn't it?
Yes. King George
so probably there was another one before.
Could have been, but he gave money and his library so that Harvard University could actually start.
Yeah.
And actually the Puritans, it was actually Harvard was founded in 1636. Okay. The Puritans launched the first North American college, Harvard, at Cambridge, Massachusetts. Just 6 years after they landed in Massachusetts Bay. And I'm not going to read everything here, but Mr. Harvard is a godly gentleman and a lover of learning towards the erecting of a college and all of his library. And these are the requirements. These are the requirements to get into Harvard at that time. First of all, any scholar is able to make, write, and speak true Latin in verse and prose, and decline perfectly the paradigms of nouns and verbs in the Greek tongue. So first of all, you had to know Hebrew, and you had to know Latin and Greek just to get in to Harvard University.
Now let me stop you right there.